Hello, welcome to another edition of Sipping Coffee or Tea with Realtor Bert Taddei. Hope all is well and that you have your favorite beverage. Mine is a hot cup of coffee. Maybe you can see the steam. Leave me a comment below. I'd like to see what your favorite beverage is. Maybe you liked iced coffee. Who knows, right? And do you? And also tell me what time of the day you like to sip your favorite beverage. Is that in the morning only, or do you also, maybe like a little bit of a snack in the middle of the afternoon to sip that beverage? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm interested to know. This is a video series that I created, which helps consumers navigate through the real estate business, right? And the ins and outs, and really more than else, navigate through all of the media hype and noise, and yes, even misinformation that's out there. So hopefully you found this video series to be interesting. I have other videos with a series of questions, and in this particular series is geared toward home sellers. And when sitting down at a listing appointment with a real estate agent, these are some questions that might be helpful for you to ask them, right? Because a lot of folks think that an agent is just an agent, right? So what's the big deal? Well, it's true that we've all passed the same licensing exams. However, just because we have a real estate license, which gives us the right or the privilege to practice real estate in the great state of Texas, doesn't necessarily mean that we know how to sell, right? Certainly doesn't mean that we know how to be a target marketing specialist and all the skills that are required for something like that, right? To get the most money and the least amount of time and hassle for our home sellers. So we're going to give you some tips on what to ask that professional when you sit down with them in this series. So let's get right to it. So first question that I would recommend that you ask this listing professional that's going to be a prospective candidate to sell your home for you is, what sort of tools do you provide in assisting me in completing the necessary forms that are required by the great state of Texas? For example, the seller's disclosure notice is something that is absolutely necessary. And there is a form which is issued by the Texas Real Estate Commission themselves, the entity that issues our licenses. And that one's a much shorter form. It's not very detailed. I prefer, when I take a listing, to have my sellers fill out the Texas Realtors form, which is 6 pages, right? And although I'm precluded by law from giving them guidance, I can't tell them how to fill it out. We're talking about tools, right? The tools that I provide, for example, is one really slick one called Seller's Shield. So ask the agent that you're interviewing, hey, do you have a tool that can assist me in filling out these necessary forms that are required by the state of Texas, such as Seller's Shield, right? This is a great example of one of those tools. It is a link that I'll send to if it's a couple selling a property, or however many people it is. I send them a link to invite them to both endorse the document. They have to initial every single page, right? All 6 pages. And then the sellers typically sign page 5, buyers on page 6. But either way, you got to give initials on all 6 pages. And that is something that's required by law. There are a few instances under the Texas Property Code in which sellers are precluded from having to provide one, such as an estate sale situation where the administrator of that estate, or if the person died intestate, the administrator of the will, or if it's an executor because the deceased did have a will in place, the executor or executrix does not have to fill out that seller's disclosure. Also, if it's a sale of a property from one family member to another, it's not necessary either. If it's a foreclosure sale, the bank does not have to provide a seller's disclosure. These are just a couple of examples of instances where the sellers are precluded. But the mom and pop seller that's selling their homestead does need to provide a seller's disclosure form, and that's a really terrific tool. Like I said, Seller Shield. It's a step-by-step, so they click on the link and you designate one of those people to be the person to actually fill out the form. It'll be step by step by step. Does your home feature this? Does it have that? Does it have that? And by the way, if you're in Hollywood Park, for example, where 99.999% of the homes are on a septic system, it'll ask there, what type of sewer is it? Is it city sewer? And you say, or is it on-site? On-site sewer is what they call it, like it's for septic. Then it'll automatically prompt you to then fill out the on-site sewer disclosure, which is another one. So it's a really, really slick tool, guys. I mean, it's really awesome. So ask the person that you are, the agent that you're interviewing, whether or not they have a tool that can assist you, like we do, for example, right? So number 2 is that do you update your clients on the sale of their home at the same day and time each week? So, and if so, what is that day and time? So for example, with our team here, we keep very, very busy. So our commitment to our sellers is to update them on Tuesday afternoons with with how the sale is coming along, right? The number of buyers that came through the house. And of course, part of our service, for example, is to follow up with every single agent that has shown the property to get some feedback, right? We don't wait, for the typical feedback to be provided through Showing Time, who's the company or the app that supports us and that collects that feedback for us. Rather than waiting for them to comment, and a scale of 1 to 5, how was the property? How was the experience? We don't wait for all this stuff. We follow up with each agent directly, just to kind of open a dialogue and see if there's some interest from their buyers as to whether or not they like the property, what questions they might have, related to that particular listing. So we want to give that, provide that feedback. For example, our team, what we do is that we provide that feedback to sellers. Again, once a week, we make those calls and we update our sellers in terms of the listing. We're disseminating the market, how it's responding to our listing, and the sales price, by the way, because in a minute we're going to talk about critical mass. And that would maybe be a helpful thing for you to know as well. So do you have a specific day and time when you update your sellers? And if so, what is that day and time? It doesn't mean that we're not available to our sellers, from 8 to 8, because we're open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. On Monday through Friday. Saturday from 9 to 5, and then Sunday by appointment only, right? So we're always available, right? It's not that we're not going to answer our sellers except on Tuesdays. That's the only time we get to speak to us. But at the same time, we do want to provide that update. So the sellers are kind of, oh, it's Tuesday afternoon. We're going to expect a call from Bert, with an update on our listing and how it's going, right? So that's what we do, right? I just want to kind of give you that example. So number 3 question that I recommend asking, and this is a kind of a sticky subject, with some agents even, what empirical data can you provide to us to justify the recommended sales price? How'd you get that number, right? Can you show us, because we're always basing our recommended sales prices on empirical data, right? What has sold in that neighborhood, in that asset class, in that vintage, right? If it's a 1976 home, and even if it's been renovated, it's not going to be a suitable comparable to pull, a brand new construction, right? And to compare the two, it's just, they're two dissimilar properties, right? Different vintages, and different types of homes. So we want to think like an appraiser. So we as listing professionals should be getting into the minds of an appraiser. This is how I approach it, right? And I like to look at a plus or minus 20% of the square footage, right? Plus or minus, and of 20%. So if you have 1,000 square feet, for example, well, you can go down to 800 and up to 1,200, right? 20%. And we're going to be looking for homes in that price range. And then, of course, we're going to be utilizing a comparative market analysis, which is the same thing an appraiser is going to do, right? To derive that recommended sales price, right? And again, it's based on what has sold, right? Empirical data. And I try to find, the most recent data. For example, when I conduct this CMA, as I'm calling it, this comparative market analysis that I referred to. Why? Because that's what the appraiser is going to do, right? So again, we're getting into the mind of an appraiser, and we're going to be using the principles of contribution and substitution. There might be another question you can ask here. There's a bonus question. My video series are 3 questions. You can ask them for a 4th one. Do you understand the principles of contribution and substitution? If so, are you able to show that to me on a CMA, comparative market analysis? Because that's a very, very important way to sort through the 13,000 agents that are members of our local San Antonio Board of Realtors. Are they just strictly doing a price per square foot? And if they are, and they're just saying, okay, whatever that average price per square foot is, let's multiply it times how many square feet you have, and there you get, presto, you get your sales price. Not true. So make sure that you ask them, how will you derive sales price? How did you arrive at that recommended sales price? And can you show me some data on that? So hopefully it's been helpful for you. Let's talk real quick about critical mass. I talk about this in all of my other videos in this video series on choosing a listing professional and what questions to ask in your listing appointment. These were 3 questions, 4 actually, right? And the other thing I wanted to mention that we mention in our listing appointments that we go on is we talk about critical mass. And it's predicated on statistics that are gathered by the National Association of Realtors, of which all the members of SABOR, San Antonio Board of Realtors, are members of the NAR and Texas Association of Realtors as well. TAR and NAR were members of all of those boards, right? Those associations. National Association of Realtors is the largest trade organization in America, and it tracks statistics for us and says that 2 weeks and no showings, the home is priced. 2 weeks no showings, the home is priced too high. Likewise, 10 showings and no offers, the home is priced too high. Okay, so it's very, very critical that 3rd question that we talked about with empirical data, that is being used instead of throwing the spaghetti against the refrigerator and hoping that it sticks. That is not how we price a home. We're professionals, and we earn well. Okay, for every home that we sell, right? So it's critical that you're choosing the right professionals based on the questions that I'm recommending. These are 3, 4 more questions you can be asking, but it's very critical because you never get a second chance to make a first impression, and that first impression is the sales price, folks, that you set for that home. It's super critical, particularly in this market. We're in the first quarter of 2023, and I must tell you, the market has been a little bit of a correction. There's been a little bit of a switch. Now, a well-priced home that's been well maintained and just the right amount of upgrades, and it's clean, it's move-in ready, turnkey. Those homes, we're seeing multiple offers on them still, and that's what we want to see, right? As a home seller, and the listings that we represent. We always want to try to get our sellers top dollar, right? And then, so it's critical to get that sales price correct. So hopefully it's been helpful for you. Once again, this is coffee or tea, sipping coffee or tea with Bert Taddei, Realtor and Broker Associate in San Antonio. I truly hope this has been helpful for you, and this has been a nice resource. You have any questions, feel free to reach out. And once again, leave a comment below on what your favorite beverage is to sip on a regular basis. That's it for now.